have actually our first founder ready to tell his story. His name is James. He has built up a company 3 years ago, which is one of the fastest growing companies in UK. He says that he's a digital nomad, meaning that he lives on the plane and has to travel a lot between Switzerland, other countries and US in between. And funny enough, while being a digital nomad and a founder, and then the life is really tough there, he's somehow happily married and father of 3. Give a big applause for James!
Thank you. Okay, great. Hi everybody, can you all hear me? Great, brilliant. Great, okay, first of all, yeah, thank you for coming to my presentation. First of the day, yeah, I'm sure everybody's very brave to be here first thing after the party. These are my contact details. Like, feel free to contact me. You can kind of just scan that on LinkedIn and find my profile immediately. The first thing I'd say is that being an entrepreneur is an incredibly hard experience, very difficult. Like saying, I'm still happily married, but the divorce rate for entrepreneurs is very high. I've seen lots of my friends start businesses and fail. It's incredibly tough. Like 9 out of 10 businesses fail. I mean, that's like a real stat, and I've seen that stat play out with my friends. So you can contact me anytime. I'm here to help with any sort of advice about entrepreneurship. You can ask me anything about my journey. I'm happy to provide contacts to help with funding, etc. So just reach out to me and I'll help you out. Yeah, so my story is around Cognism is really one of incredible success and growth at the moment. Hopefully it stays that way. So we've grown continuously since we started the business. We grew 660% in revenue last year, and we're just about to complete on a Series B where we're raising $10 million next, hopefully in the next month. So that's it's been incredibly successful, and also it's been incredibly fun. So this is pictures from my Cognism life. That's the team winning the BESMA award, like the best customer service team award last year. That's our staff in Croatia. So we took everybody to party in Croatia last summer, and we're going again in June. This is me with a silly hat in Atlanta, and this is the team. We just recently rebranded. We just had a big conference, and we had a huge success there, most number of leads we've ever had, most number of opportunities. So, it's been very successful. I'm working with an incredible set of people that I didn't know a couple of years ago, and really I'm living like the best time of my life at the moment. But it wasn't always that way. So before Cognism, before all the success, my life, I was a trader. So I used to trade German power, carbon and oil. I had a background as a computer software engineer, so I'd worked in finance my entire career as a Java programmer. And my dream job was to be a trader. So I became a trader. I thought that was, I was done for life. Like, that was my dream. And it turned into like a nightmare of a job. It was completely different from programming. In programming, you sit down, you write a project. In trading, you're pretty much gambling every day. So I was going in, I was having to, I was writing programs that would follow the markets, but I was also myself trading and having to make all these decisions. Every day you deal with failure. You make a bet on the market, and generally you lose, and you're taking in a lot of information. So it was an incredibly stressful job. I'd say that my stress levels were up here with trading, and now as an entrepreneur, they're far less. So I was doing this job. I'd built up an incredibly successful trading desk. We'd hit all our targets, and then it got closed down. So we had like a new head of my department came in, and he wasn't he didn't like this type of trading. So he closed the program down. So I'd kind of spent 5 years of my life building this trading desk. It then got shut down, and I suppose at that point in my life, I kind of made this decision that, being in this kind of professional job, the 9-to-5 job, somebody else is always in charge of your destiny. Like, somebody else is always dictating your career. So I really then took that decision to step out and start Cognism. So in 2016, I left my full-time job. I started Cognism. I put like all my own money into starting the company. So I put £250,000 myself into funding the company. I was lucky I got into some accelerator programs, FinTech Sandbox in Boston, and then I got into Winton Labs in London. And you know, it was incredibly difficult. We managed to build a product. I managed to sell the product. I managed to get funding in London. So we had the Winton Labs Accelerator promise funding at that point. And then it all got pulled away. So the funding got pulled away. I ran out of money personally, so I ran out of money to actually fund Cognism. And then I had to then stop and then go back into a consultancy job. So that was like the hardest moment. I really felt I was drowning then. I really had no money. I'd been without income for well over a year. And then I was back in a consultancy job working for somebody else again. And that was probably the worst experience of my working career, was actually having been an entrepreneur, having been my own boss, and then all of a sudden being back working in a 9-to-5 job. So you know, that was probably the lowest point in the Cognism, and it was really a point where I could have quit. So at the same time, my CTO, so because we all run out of money, so he decided to stick and just work for a couple of months for free. And then while I was in that consultancy job, every day I was still looking for funding. So at lunch breaks, I would go out and I'd still look for funding. And then, you know, I'd say like that was our Phoenix moment. So after that kind of like that failure point, we kept looking for funding, and then we had a breakthrough. So we had a breakthrough from a company in Switzerland. It was called Netcetra. So they then funded us. I then quit that consultancy job, and then I basically went full time at Cognism. So to say that now it's incredibly successful. So now we have all that growth, we have all that success, but there was that point of failure. There was that point where I really ran out of money, and I could have quit. But you know, one of the things that really helped me and really gave me lots of support was my family. So you know, I say that that's an important part of an entrepreneur's journey, is to have that support network. I had a 1-year-old son in 2017, so just after we got the funding. So this is really just to say that you can kind of live this kind of entrepreneur's life and still have a family. You don't have to sacrifice these things. You know, for me, that's been an incredible part of the journey, is to have that support from my family and my network. Yeah, and I think one of the big messages about my journey and about entrepreneurship is it's incredibly difficult. It is incredibly hard. Like the first 2 years of my journey, it was really about you know, working late nights. It was about not giving up. So, you know, for me, entrepreneurship is about hard work. It's about you know, particularly the first 2 years of the journey are going to be incredibly difficult, and you just need to you know, focus and get through that tough period, and then a success will come. These are some of the recommendations I've got in terms of things to read and look at that will help you be a better entrepreneur. So there's Paul Graham, and there's 2 essays on his website that I'd really recommend. One is called How Not to Die. So it's really about not giving up. So it's like that one moment that I had when I ran out of money and we'd been on Accelerator and the funding got pulled. You know, if you just don't give up in those moments, if you just keep going, then you can eventually be successful. The other thing is, these other great essays do things that don't scale. So that's really about when you build a startup, you don't need to have a complete product. You know, you can iterate and find a path, and that's what we did. Our original product wasn't a success, and then when we got our funding, we pivoted, rebuilt, and then we've had that incredible success from that moment. Another great book is The Hard Thing About Hard Things, about Ben Horowitz's journey. And then I would really recommend this Gary Vee video, A 5-Minute Plea to Do, which is really just about taking action. So not thinking, not strategizing too much, but just building things and iterating and doing things. And that's been a big part of my journey, is just making sure that I've worked, you know, I've just not given up and just kept doing and trying things and selling and pitching and getting feedback from customers, and then just doing those things and iterating. You will find success. So yeah, so here's my contact details again. If you have any questions or you want to get any advice about my journey about fundraising, please reach out and contact me. Does anybody have any questions at all? Yeah, sure. Oh, sorry.
Thank you for a very good speech. I have a question in a form of, could you finish my sentence? So the first part of the sentence goes, in order to keep my wife happy, I am...
Yeah, I'm making sure that I call her every night. that's one thing. I'm making sure that you have those special moments, when you go back at weekends, that you plan and you spend time with your wife and children. You take them out for special treats, and so you create special time, with them. I mean, you need a supportive partner. I mean, this is an incredibly difficult journey. You're not gonna be with them for lots of hours. For the majority of the time, you'll be spending your time with your work colleagues, and you'll be working weekends. You'll have calls that interrupt you, while you're with family time. So you need a partner that your partner needs to understand that. They need to be supportive. They need to understand that this journey you're about to go on is going to be incredibly difficult, and that's an important. It's important that you sync up like with that, and because there is a stat that for entrepreneurs the divorce rate is far higher because of the sacrifices that you do in terms of your time. Yeah. Anything else? No. Oh, sure.
Yeah, there's a question there. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that 9 out of 10 startups fail, and at one point you did fail.
Yeah.
So how did you know that once you get the funding again, this time you're not going to fail? So how did you know to take the risk?
Yeah, you don't. I mean, I've seen founders and friends that have had seed money, that have had Series A money, then fail, and the businesses close down. So the thing is, it's incredibly difficult. You're probably likely to fail in your first startup. I mean, that's just the statistics. But if you giving up is also, maybe this company, the thing that you're working on right now isn't the thing that's going to be successful. Maybe it's the next project that's going to be successful. You're going to learn lessons from doing this, and the thing is not to, give up on what the ultimate goal is, that you're going to be your own boss, that you're going to be managing your own business, that you can have these incredible times, you're going to do things that you would never get the chance to do in a corporate job, in a 9-to-5 job, and you'll have so much freedom. So you want to get to that place, and so you just have to keep working and iterating until you find a successful model for you that's going to get you to that place. I just say that from my experience, it's really worth it. Like, my life is 1,000 times better and more fun and more interesting than it was before I started Cognism, when I was trading and I was in that dream corporate job. My life's way more fun and interesting. So it's worth all that sacrifice, but it is an incredible 2 to 3 years of sacrifice before you get to that point. And maybe even more, but you can keep iterating and trying new things. And I'd say the biggest thing is to reach out, build a great network of supporters and friends, be with people that have been on that journey before, and people that are kind of ahead of you in that journey, and just get their feedback, get their advice, absorb, and then you can eventually get to that place too.
Thank you, James.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up in our Superangel founder stories is a person named Kaspar Tiri. He's an Estonian, and he's the founder of Wolf 3D, which means that their goal is to provide a persistent identity for the virtual worlds. And nice fact, Kaspar has been featured in Forbes 30 under 30. So give a big applause for our next speaker, Kaspar. Welcome.
Thank you. It was 2015. It's one of those quite cold winter nights. I was sitting together with our other founders, Timo, Haver, and Rainer, in our first investors' boardroom. It wasn't one of those happy days. It was rather a sad one. We had been building our first product for a year by then, and we didn't have any traction. Even worse, We only had a few weeks of runway left, and we were about to go bankrupt. Today, I want to tell you our story. And I want to talk about the topic that I do not hear founders often talking about. I want to talk about not dying as a startup. Just staying alive to become an expert is not a very sexy idea for a startup. Startups, as the stereotype goes, they move fast and they disrupt industries. But it really takes time to disrupt an industry. We often hear success stories from founders without realizing how much time and effort it has taken them to reach that phase. The best way as a startup to disrupt an industry is to be a thesis-driven outsider. Someone who hasn't been chatted by the industry but still has a strong opinion about what should change. You then have to, just have to stay alive long enough so you can compete with different skills and the practices you bring. Some even may call it fake it till you make it. So our story began in late 2014. We wanted to 3D scan real people. We wanted to take 3D technology closer to the everyday consumer. We wanted to digitalize people. So this was our first product, a full-body 3D scanner booth. So it captured everything from your head to toe and created a realistic 3D replica of a person. We had spent most of our money building the technology and the product. So once the product was ready, we of course started selling it. But after a few months of unsuccessful phone sales and online sales, we felt a bit frustrated. And we figured, you know what? We need to set up the scanner in a shopping mall so we can talk with people directly. And that's what we did. We set up the scanner in here in Tallinn, in a very shopping center, and we started explaining people what do we do. We started scanning them and we started, selling them the service. But I remember most of them were just staring us in the face, thinking to themselves, man, those guys are definitely a bit crazy. Why the hell someone would ever want something like this? I mean, we had customers here and there and people paid for our service, but it wasn't enough to build a sustainable business. What we didn't realize as the first-time founders is you cannot build a product and expect that everyone will come and buy your innovation. We were so focused on building the technology and the product itself that we even didn't realize that most people do not understand the 3D, not to mention 3D avatars. The only connection they had with 3D was their 3D TVs and the commercials they saw about Colgate's new 3D toothpaste. Eventually, we didn't manage to find product market fit. Probably timing wasn't right for us, and we were selling it in the wrong market. So that's why we ended up in this boardroom with our investor buddies, with a company that was at the edge of a bankruptcy. I remember our investor buddies was sitting in one of those chairs. He was quiet the entire time when we were, delivering the news. He was just, looking at us. And, we were nervously looking at each other, not knowing what to do. I mean, we didn't have any traction. We were almost out of money. And on top of everything, we were in debt. I mean, it really can't get any worse, right? So after a long silence, Matti started speaking, and he told us, guys, whatever you do, make sure you don't separate your team, because there's once in a million chance that you will find a team with such a great chemistry. You just need to survive. And that's all we tried to do. We just tried to survive. We knew we needed to pivot because the first product wasn't working. So we started thinking, what did we do wrong with our first product? We had realized that one of the biggest mistakes we did was not clearly understanding our customers. After we had spent months in the video shopping center, we had learned that people actually do not want to have a realistic one-on-one virtual version of themselves, but they rather want to have a nicer looking version of themselves, a prettier looking version of themselves. I think we got asked almost daily that, can you take my face and place it on a Superman's body or some other superhero character? People wanted to express their imagination. And we also understood that the product we had built, it was way too expensive to scale that. So we went back to our drawing boards and we started designing a new product that's more scalable, that's more accessible to people, and that's cheaper. We took inspiration from regular photo booths and we ended up with a concept like this, an automatic 3D scanner booth. We also needed money, right? Because as you remember, we didn't have any. So we started fundraising, applying to accelerators, doing everything we could to raise some capital, but nothing really worked. I remember thinking to myself like, wow, that's it then. We tried so hard. And I think the same day we saw a startup Wise Guys accelerator application, and we had this conversation internally between the founders, like, why bother filling that out? Waste of time, it's not going to work anyways. But eventually we did. We filled out the application, and for some reason, they accepted us. Of course, they had realized that we had raised some money, ran out of the money, we had built the product, we had failed with the product, we had made every single mistake in the book. But we needed a new start. And thankfully, they gave us the new start. We managed not to die. This time, we took a completely different approach to building a product. We started looking for supplies around our office to build our first prototype, and you can see it there on the right. And we started building the product iteratively, evaluating the technology in every single phase. Meanwhile, we also started selling the product. We started selling the concept to different businesses, museums, shopping malls, you name it. And we managed to sell a few booths before the product was actually ready. So we had validated that we can sell it, and we had validated we can actually, build a scalable technology as well before we made any further investments. So that's how the final product looked like. A fully automatic 3D scanner booth. We had them in different parts of the world in high foot traffic locations. People were able to go inside the booth, make a scan of themselves, become movie characters, superhero character. They were able to become whomever they wanted to become. During the same time, we also moved to LA, which is probably one of the best decisions we made, because Estonia wasn't our market. Estonia is not very well known for being an entertainment hub. And it was so difficult for us to sell from Estonia to the US without understanding the culture, without understanding how business is done there. During our time in LA, we also started fundraising. And I think we got rejected by every single investor in LA. Over 100, 150, 200, maybe even more rejections. There were days when we were walking home with Timo, and we were discussing on our way home, like, is there something that we are not seeing that all of the investors are seeing? Maybe it's just a bad idea. But I guess we felt motivated by the very, very few people who were super engaged and interested in what we did. Soon after, Facebook announced their vision for social AR VR, about how augmented virtual reality will become the most social computing platform yet. Mark Zuckerberg talked about a place. It will become a place where people can work, meet, play games, or basically do anything with anyone from anywhere in the world. And suddenly people started understanding our story. They started understanding the importance of personal 3D avatars in this digital revolution that was happening. The digital revolution of two-dimensional experiences like the Facebook we have today becoming three-dimensional experiences like the Facebook described here. We actually managed to raise over $1 million. We managed to partner with companies like CBS, Paramount Pictures. We had the largest photo booth manufacturer in the world as our partner, and we were about to sign a large order from Dubai. It felt like we've made it. But our vision was much bigger than we were able to achieve with this approach. We wanted to bring humanity into the virtual worlds. We wanted to digitalize billions of people, but it felt impossible with this hardware approach. People say hardware is hard, and they probably say it for a reason. We had to deal with problems like the scanner booth not fitting through the door, so we had to forklift it, and some scanners not working. You have to go there and fix them. Or 2 years ago, we were here at Latitude, the very same building, trying to get the scanner booth in the building, but it didn't fit. So we had to make a difficult decision again. We had to pivot. We had to pivot from a stable and steady growth into the unknown future. But this unknown future had a huge potential. So we took the risk. As we had a network of those scanner booths all around the world, we managed to collect a massive database of face scans. Smartphones were powerful, cameras are really good, and we managed to build a deep learning solution based on this massive database of face scans, so we could build a solution every single person in the world could access. And that's what we have today. We can generate 3D avatars of people based on a regular 2D image, regular selfie. We still have the same vision of bringing people into the virtual worlds, because we see people spending increasing amounts of their lives online. So our digital identities are becoming more and more central in their day-to-day lives. And that's what we at Wolf3D are focused on. That's why we're building the technologies that allow people to create personal 3D avatars of themselves that are unique and they can emotionally connect with, that they're happy to use it as their identity. Today we're not alone. We work with companies like HTC, Huawei, H&M, High Fidelity, and many more. Our technology is used for a plethora of different use cases, for virtual fitting, so you could try on clothing before you buy it online, or in games, so people could socialize, in VR meetings, and so many other more. We have stayed alive long enough to become an expert. Staying alive long enough to become an expert doesn't mean that you should be moving slow. A steady state is an unsustainable one, because people get bored. You have to keep your people moving. You have to keep them learning. What I've learned as a founder is that a startup's future is very unpredictable, and you always cannot give answers. Probably you even shouldn't, because your answer might still be premature. But what you always can do as a founder is to add energy. Your job as a founder is to be an energy giver rather than energy taker. We have experienced a lot of uncertainty at Wolf3D throughout our years, building this new market. we have been always the outsiders. We have been the guys who never really fit in until they do. Chefs will tell you that the secret behind many great dishes is patience. And your own products and creations aren't much different. What most people do not realize is that in those early days, you want to aspire a small audience that really, really loves your product, rather than to aim to please the masses. Humans have a natural desire to be understood, and if we are not, we get frustrated. But if you're building something that's completely new, you will be rejected many, many times. And the society will try to drag you what is common and what is familiar. And I've experienced that. But I think what you should do is you should use the rejections and the weirdness that come along with it as a parameter for your originality. I think nobody remembers or is inspired by anything that fits in. If you're building something new, you will get rejected. People will tell you your idea is weird, probably you are weird as well. But you should use the weirdness. You should embrace this weirdness and learn to say fuck you to the world once in a while. Thank you.
I think we have 1 minute for one question. So does anybody want to ask a question? Yes, there is. Microphone is coming to you.
How you feel? Who is your enemy in your life? Who is your enemy?
Who is my enemy?
Yes.
It's a very good question. Well, I think personally it's always fighting with time, figuring out how to prioritize your time with the things that you're doing. That's the biggest enemy we always have. Trying to figure out your own, how do you invest your time into what things and how do you help others? Did that answer your question?
What was that?
All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. So hey, the next speaker on the stage is, in my opinion, my honest opinion, one of the feistiest Estonian founders I personally know. She's the founder of Jobbatical, and if you didn't know, she's currently, right now, on the cover of Forbes in Japan. Please give a big and warm welcome to Karoli.
So, shall we start with my presentation? No. First of all, you can still leave. If you are looking for a romantic story about how beautiful it is to be a founder, you're not going to hear it. So, I don't want to ruin your dreams, so you can leave. So it is 2014, October, around 3 a.m. I'm staring at the ceiling. My then 1-year-old daughter is in the next room, but that's not why I'm up. My heart is pounding, and I'm actually feeling that it will explode. I ask myself, is that how a heart attack actually feels? 7 months earlier, I had started to research for this idea of mine. The idea that if I take borderless people in the digital industry and introduce them to teams in the far-flung cities of the world and bring them together, then we can, on one hand, distribute knowledge, but also build a business out of it. So in March, I found courage. In April, I met my first co-founder. In July, I got my first yes from a believer, a Finnish angel investor. In September, we signed the term sheet for the angel round. It seems like things are going really well, right? Well, It's October. 2 of my co-founders have left their day job. We have rented our first office. I have approximately 10 euros on my account. And we haven't launched our MVP. We haven't closed our angel round. I know that no way I'm going to be able to pay the salaries for my co-founders who came in to build my vision. No way I'm going to pay for the office. Could I take another loan? But even I don't know if it will work. Nobody, besides the few believers who have said, yes, it's interesting, and signed the term sheet, I have no idea if this will work. 1 week later, we signed and closed the angel round. It was 1 week before I should have announced the bankruptcy. And if you think that after that came a fun new story with its success, and that was the last 3 a.m. staring ceiling moment, no. It happened and has happened countless times. By today, I am the master of sleeping pills from all over the world. In all my travels, I collect them, I test them, and for the worst nights, I have Xanax in my drawer or in my suitcase. But just to be clear, entrepreneurship is hard, and that wasn't new for me. I started my first business when I was 16, invented something that saved lives and became pretty popular. And before Jobbatical, I actually launched National Geographic channels, Fox channels in 3 Baltic states, and that was I started to do that in the middle of the biggest financial crisis. So I know, and I knew what painful entrepreneurship means, but honestly, it's not comparable to the struggles of a founder who is building a business model that doesn't exist, or building a business that nobody knows how to even build. So, coming out from the negative, yes, there are great things. So, yes, by today we have moved people from 48 countries to 34 countries. That's cool. We have investors from 8 countries in the world, including UNESCO Ventures, who is considered one of the best VCs on planet Earth. We have probably got better media coverage than any early stage company in Estonia. Probably only the unicorns here can beat us there. And yes, in June we're going to launch our own visa with one of the governments. We're working closely with governments around the world, and we're going to have our own visa for our users. So that's all very exciting. And I'm making a bet here, I'm probably the only Estonian whom Vice President Al Gore calls by her first name. If somebody can challenge that, happy to take that challenge. But still, getting here or even constantly moving ahead, this is so painful. So if you're looking to start a startup, you have an idea, then really you have to be ready for pain. And I mean pain starting from the fact that being a CEO is lonely. Being a CEO and a founder of a startup is lonely on steroids. You are inventing things while you're moving ahead. You hear from your team, and what is funny, I think, is that a lot of the people who join your team, they are looking for that romance as well. They are looking to, bean bags and startup, and we're doing great things. But then you start hearing, why are we changing all the time? Why? I don't like change. And I like to quote my guru and my friend and a mentor, Patty McCord of Netflix, who said, but then don't join a startup, go and work in a corporation. Change is part of the DNA of a startup. That's what is exciting, but also painful, being part of a startup. But you, as a founder and a CEO, will be bearing all that heaviness. So really, when taking this path ahead, then think about the sleepless nights you're going to have, and you're going to have a lot of them. And the confusions and the fact that, I think one of the fun comments that I like to point out is your team saying that management doesn't know what they're doing. Most of the time, and I think that's very good to communicate with the teams, is that yes, we are figuring out while doing it, because nobody knows how this should be done. So think really if you want to take this journey on. If you want, then so I thought like I can brag about how great we are, or I can continue whining how difficult it is, but instead I chose few things that I either think that have worked for me and for us, or I wish I would have known sooner, and hope when you will take that journey that those will help you as well. So first, start by doing things that don't scale. That's, I think, the biggest mistake that we did at the beginning of Jobbatical. We tried to create a platform that a lot of people can join, and just in our heads thought how they will be behaving on that platform, instead of looking at 1, 10, or 50 users and really following each and every step and doing everything manually and really trying to understand how this works, what doesn't work, and then building a tech around it. There's a really good podcast by Ray Doffman, Masters of Scale. Anybody listens to that? Okay, so there's episode 1 is with the founder of Airbnb talking about exactly that, and I really recommend to listen to that episode, and I wish I would have listened to that in 2014. Second thing, so as a founder, I'm a business-minded founder. I'm not a tech, I'm not a product person. So if you are like me, then what I would recommend is to really get a co-founder who is a product guy or a girl who works like a machine and is not afraid to make decisions. Just recently, one head of product told me the best definition that I have since then had for what is a product, who is a great product lead. The great product lead is somebody who can take my vision, where I believe the company is in 3 to 4 years, and translate into shorter chunks of time and what should be done within that time, or what could be done within that time. So really choose carefully who will be the product person in your founding team. And here I think this is where we have been really good at. Start with why. Is it the storytelling that you're telling to the world? Is it the storytelling that attracts people to your team? The biggest thing that you have to crack and is basically, why are you doing this? What is going to change? Why should anybody join your vision, your journey? In what difference will it make for them, for the world? And that story has to touch people. So people join Jobbatical because we are open. We are taking down borders. Every human that moves to a new country, every team that hires a new human takes down borders. And that is what drives people to join our journey. And that is the story also from all those different angles that media has really got from us. That has helped us to build a very strong storytelling. And when you're thinking about the why, I think the important thing, and what I see very often we're doing mistakes in, is that we're talking about what is here, but you should be bold and think, you should create the future. So in our world, taking down borders when nationalists seem to be conquering Europe, right? It doesn't, like, right now it's not happening. But I'm telling what's going to happen and why this is happening, why those reactions are happening here, because the future there is very different. So be bold about telling what is the future that you see. And that will very much build your story. That will attract the best people. That will attract investors. That will also attract media. So start with why. And again, if you haven't read, Simon Sinek has a really good book. I recommend to read that. I have heard startups saying that I'm going to do a raise around for 6 months because we're almost there, and then I'm going to raise again. Don't do it. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Everything that you think will not happen most probably will happen. If you are raising around for 6 months, then basically you sign the paper and start raising again. Because it takes approximately 6 months to raise a round. So minimum 18 months runway. So always think of the more pessimistic scenarios and always minimum 18 months. And focus, very important. So as an early stage company, we at one point discovered that we have like 40 people and 9 different products. Like it's not going to work. So focus is something we're constantly telling ourselves, and we think that, you know, we know it and it's so obvious, but yet it's so easy to get lured into great ideas that emerge. Let's try this as well. What if we try this angle? And then suddenly you understand that you're completely distracted. Your team is distracted and you don't know where you're going. So just do one thing, do it well, and from there you can build whatever you want. Become the master of saying no. And that's something that I already learned from my very first company, that it's the more you do, the more invites you get to speak, the more invites you get to have a coffee or have a tea or have a conversation or do all those things that people want to exchange ideas. Always, what I do today is that I always ask the question, how does this meeting or activity or speech help my company? How does this help my family? How does it help me? If it doesn't, no. Because the more you do, the more you will be spread thin. So the more you're being able to say no, the more you're able to focus. And a book that I definitely, like as a founder and as a CEO, it completely changed the way I think about hiring and team building. So Patty McCord was, Patty McCord was the head of talent for Netflix, and together with Reid Hastings, she built the culture deck. And her book is very eye-opening in terms of getting a healthy look of how to build a team and how to fix the team when things are not working. So I really recommend it, and I also recommend to reread it every month if possible. Start meditating. One thing that, again, we have heard a lot, honestly, with all my, with the stress levels, with the sleeping disorders, meditation has been one of the best things I have started to do. And you can take that 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes every day, and it will change the way that you, first of all, just makes you feel better. But secondly, what I think what it helps you to do is build the ability to take a step back instead of reacting all the time. So it really helps you to build this. Basically, you will have the ability to witness your own emotions and decide whether to react or not. So I believe this has helped me also as a leader. So I really recommend to try it out. There are different apps, Headspace, also the Muse, which I love, which basically is also with a gadget, which help you to create the habit. And last but definitely not least, especially being a founder and a parent, I think it's very easy to just lose yourself in the middle of it. I recommend to think about that every day. And for how I do that is I very often have my jogging, my running shoes, my sportswear, either in my travels or in my office, and I just go and have a run. Or I go and do something that makes me feel better as a human. Because if you're losing yourself, and again, like I haven't mastered that, I've been pretty bad at that, but the more you do it, the more you're better as a leader and as a CEO. And by the way, one thing regarding that is, I never thought that I would need a coach. Until my investor from US recommended, because that's what they do in their portfolio. They suggest good coaches to work with the CEO, and that was so helpful. If possible, I would recommend to have a coach, and if you want, I can recommend. I have my coach has been working with Tony Robbins for years, and she has a very good network. So if you want and are ready to do either in Estonia, I see that there's one coach actually sitting here who I can recommend. But also if you want from outside Estonia, I can recommend at least somebody who has a good network of CEO coaches. But it's really helpful to work on your own psychology. And just to end, then, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I was whining there a bit, but it is amazing to build something that changes lives. Like it is amazing to see teams hiring from a country that they maybe didn't even know of and actually have a team member that makes a difference there. Or people going and moving to another country and having a life-changing experience while contributing with their knowledge. It's amazing, but what I want to acknowledge here is that it has a cost. And you have to be ready for that cost. And with that, I just also want to thank I want to thank this little girl here. And she understands English, so I can continue speaking English. You were 2 years old when I first took you. I mean, she has been tagging around next to me with my travels all over the world. But you were 2 years old when I first took you to Malaysia, and I just left you in a local daycare, and I said, bye, I'm off to meetings, and then she stayed there for the next 3 months. So I started to count the countries and the babysitters and the schools that you have gone to, to be honest, I lost the count. Thank you for being such a strong partner to me and teaching me how it is possible to live a global life. She has friends from Singapore to Australia to America and is able to adapt in each and every location without any problem. And I think what she also reminds me is that exactly that is why what we are building is important. Every time we take down a border, every time she will have a better contact with her friends wherever they are from. So I thank you, Maya, and I wish you good luck on your own journeys. And if you want to, I can't promise that I will have coffee with each and every one of you. Like I said, I'm saying no to quite many things. But if you want to reach out, then happy to at least give you a shoulder. So, thank you.
Thank you, Karoli. Wow, that was quite a story. Questions? Here we go. Wait for the microphone, please.
Thank you for a very great story. There's a saying that ignorance is a bliss. All the famous startups who have had podcasts and I've spoken with, they all say the kind of the same thing what you are telling, that if I had known that it's so freaking hard, I would never have started. So how is it, like you gave a speech about be aware it's damn hard? Maybe you shouldn't have, because otherwise people will be afraid of doing it.
No, but that's the question that I think we have some illusions around us building a company. I just want to, and I think not everyone should be a startup founder, or not everyone should be an entrepreneur. I think what is great today is that you can join great companies and act as an entrepreneur inside those companies. If you ask me, I would have started still. Like, you know, the sleeping pills and all that, like, it's part of the journey, but I would do it any day, every day. I think it's good also to, if we have done mistakes, to talk about them because others can learn from it. But what I say, ignorance is bliss. I have this, when people ask me, what is the one recommendation for a new founder or entrepreneur, then I like to say that building a vision is like rock climbing. The main thing is that you keep on climbing, but don't look down because you get dizzy, and then you fall. So that's what I'm trying to do every day.
Thank you. We have time for one more question.
So how do you split your day or week in terms of how much time to spend on education, on, I don't know, HR tasks, or whatever you split, whatever system you use, like per week?
But it all depends where I am, because I travel. So if I would be in one location, that's one thing. I had from September to December 45 flights. So if I'm traveling, then the schedule is very different. But if you ask me where does the time go, mostly, what are you mostly solving? I think it's people, revenue, and investors. So I think for me, like those three are taking most of my time.
I have one more question to you, Karoli, if you allow. There's this hype in the startup world, and I think it's a hype, and I think it's dangerous, that you should work like 100 hours a week, and you've explained quite well what this means for your health, for your personal well-being. What do you say to these people who are still in a kind of mode of, you know, you have to work 100 hours a week to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a conversation, to be honest, I have had a lot, or initially had a lot with my coach, because I also had this fear that, you know, I can't work 100 hours a week because I have a family and it's not healthy. And then the more I research about it, the more conversations I had around it, it's not actually true. This is so first of all, we have very clearly very effective hours. Sleep, there's nothing more important for making decisions. I mean, what is the number one thing that you are doing as a CEO is your ability to make decisions. If you are sleep deprived, if you are stressed out, you cannot make decisions. So I think there's so much myth that has been put into this, and I think, and that's why, I mean, I'm happy to be here with my daughter to show that world can be different as well.
So it's more about work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, yes, than harder.
Okay. Thank you. Please give a big applause to Karoli. Thank you, Karoli. And our next speaker is here from Russia, and she will tell you about her startup called Movavi and startup life in Siberia. So please welcome Natalia, and she's also a pianist.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalia Simonenko. I'm an entrepreneur. Like many entrepreneurs, I started a number of businesses, but today I want to tell you about two of them. And the first is Movavi, the multimedia software company that we built in Siberia with my friend from university 15 years ago. So now it's quite a big company. We have more than 300 employees. We have 30 products in 20 languages and millions of users around the world. But back then, 15 years ago, there was just two of us, maybe around $3,000 on the bank account, no investors, no credit, just us, it's our drive and creativity. So after university, and I graduated in Siberia, I went to work for a game company, and I loved my work. I was doing international marketing. I loved the product, I loved the team, but I always wanted to try to do something for myself. And with my friend, we were trying to do something on the side. We were doing some small software, but you know, when there is no focus, not enough time, it didn't work. It just was always, you know, somewhere on the side. And then at one day, everything changed because I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. There was a small microadenoma, but the fear has big eyes. I did not realize how big is the problem. But I remember myself stepping down from the MRI laboratory with the images and the results. And I just felt that I have to do something right now. I want to quit my job. I want to focus on what I want to do now because I don't know what will wait for me in the future. And I did it. So next week, I quit my job and spent all my time and all my energy on our project. We analyzed the video market because my friend was a specialist in video codecs. And we saw enormous potential, and we started with two products, very simple video editor and video format converter. And since I focused on that and spent 100% of my time and attention to the project, it went very well, it went very quickly. So I formulated the first rule for myself: when you want to do something, really pay all your attention. Full focus and motivation will get you move forward. And for the first year and a half, we didn't have office, so all the team, all people worked from home. And I used to work at night because I like this feeling that the whole city is sleeping and there's nothing disrupt you, nothing. I remember when my roommate at 7 a.m. was going to work, I was hearing him leaving the room. That was the time for me to go to bed, to wake up at 2 or 3 p.m. and start my workday. I don't recommend this to anybody. I don't think it's good for health. But for me, it worked very well. I was younger at the time. And these 18 months, first 18 months of the company, I think there was the most efficient time for me and for the company, for the team. And then we opened the office, and then I came back to my normal mode. So we started with this video software company, video software product. And you know, being in Siberia and selling from Siberia in Russia is as difficult as selling globally, because Siberia is far from anywhere. And some can see this as a problem, but we saw this as an opportunity. And we started selling our products on foreign markets. We started on English in the United States, and then in UK and Australia. Then we translated to European languages, and then to Russia, to Russian as well. You know, I see a lot of companies now in Russia and in Europe that focus on local markets. And for some, probably there are some advantages on that. But I realized that if you see the big picture, you can do it even from Siberia. And it was a crazy idea at that time, because I couldn't speak English. And when banks or partners, they called me on phone, sometimes I could not understand what they tell me. I asked them to send me emails, then I can check the words, and this way I learned English. But we did it. And in Siberia, there's a lot of great engineers, software engineers, but no people in marketing or product management. So we learned ourselves, we trained, we hunted down the young talents, we trained them from scratch, and we learned together with them. But it was doable. It's crazy, but we did it. But I think what the most important thing I did, and we did at this time, we tried to scale as fast as we can. I think for me it's like a mental exercise. When I see or hear a good idea or see a good product, automatically I'm starting thinking, so how we can make it available for 100 more people, 1,000, 1 million. So we started from US, and then we looked for other countries with the same or similar user scenario, and then we just did the same in every country, in Germany and UK, in Australia, in Japan. At the same time, in countries with different user behavior, like in China and India, we're not successful even now. For market segmentation, so we created our video editing program, and then we think how, without changing the core of the product, make it available for different user segments, optimizing the pricing model and maximizing the margin and the revenue. So we have, for video editor, we have the simple license, we have the personal, we have the business license for business users, educational license, we have subscription, we have downloadable license. We have video editor, we have video editor plus with some additional functions. So we're looking for the ways how to, without dramatic changing of the product, make it available for different segments and price them differently. And product segmentation. When we discovered a business model and a way to produce and market a product in one niche, for example, video editing or video in general, then we looking for the way how to replicate this experience in different niches. So we launched our products in photo, in audio, in screen capture, in PDF, and so on. if the business model is similar, marketing channels are similar, then we can replicate our experience, and we did it. So this slide is supposed to show the portfolio of Movavi software, because now we are presented in many different areas, not only video, but also photo, as I said, and audio, and screen capture, and PDF. If we understand how video editing works for Windows users, then we do it for Mac, for mobile, for Android, for iPhone. So we try to scale the same idea, the same product to different operation systems as well. But of course, we did a lot of mistakes along the way. And I think most of the mistakes we did when we thought that we understand the user needs without actually checking that. So in 2009, we launched new business called Aviberry. It was a video encoding service. And the product was similar in some cases, and because it was video encoding, right? The same technology. But the users were different. The scenario of usage was also very different. But at that time, we had already a great ego. We thought we are genius, and sitting in front of our computers in Siberia, we can do the same thing as we did for consumer market and be successful. So we spent 2 years, a lot of time, a lot of money before we closed this project. And it tells me what Steve Blank is telling us. You have to get out of the building and go to get to know your customers, your business model, your market. So now every time I start a new project or work with new product, I'm trying to say, get rid of your ego, Natalia. You have to get on the plane and go to find your customers. Because if you're successful in one business model, it doesn't mean that you will be successful in different market and different conditions. This is my son. I wanted to say that time flies and we change, our lifestyle and motivation changes. And a few years ago, I stepped down from my operational role in Movavi. I was a bit tired of multimedia software and switched to STEM education. We opened IT schools in Siberia, teaching kids coding and robotics and design. And this is my new venture called Oyster, now available only in Russia. The business or the project born from the family values, from my experience raising my son. Oyster is educational kits for children aged 4 to 12 about STEAM careers. And it's very different from Movavi, very different product and users and business model and motivation. My look at this business has changed a lot. And I may fail, I don't know, but I'm very curious to see what's there around the corner, and I want to explore. And that's my short story. Thank you for your attention.
Let's have some questions as well. I see a hand there. Can we get a microphone to the love? Come again? Wait for a microphone, please. Yes. You came in late, I heard that.
Yeah, I came in late. Why is the company name Oyster? Is there any backstory
Why is
to
the
that?
company name Oyster?
Why is this name?
Yeah.
There is a Shakespeare phrase, the world is your oyster, famous phrase, meaning that in one of the, sometimes you will find what you're looking for, and we say that every box has something for you. In some of your box, you will find your pearl.
Yeah. Plus, they're delicious.
Yes, it's true.
Exactly.
Kids disagree, I think.
Yeah, but kids don't know like what's good for them.
No.
Like they don't like vegetables, oysters, broccoli. Like it's all good.
Strange people.
Strange people, exactly. Small strange people. I have 3 of them, by the way. Everybody loves kids. Anyway, any other questions, please? We still have some time. How do you enjoy Estonia?
I love Estonia. Unfortunately, why? Why? I think you keep this small, beautiful old city. Like in not so many places in the world, in Europe, they have this medieval city still alive. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, I live in Tartu. There is no medieval city there, but it has a fresh air. So there is also a question there.
Yes, hello.
Yes, stand up, introduce who you are.
Hello, my name is Kaspar, and I have a question. I understood that the beginning of your story started with this diagnosis, like this is what got you going and this focus and all of that. But did you have those ideas before? What was stopping you to start chasing your dreams before, or what was before that?
No, because you have a nice lifestyle. I worked for a game company. I had a good salary and great team and great product. But you know, always something that I have to do something for myself. I have to start it. And we try to do small programs, small games with my friend. But when you don't spend all your energy and time on this, it cannot, fly. So we tried, but it never worked out. We did it for a year and a half probably. And then when I focused, the company was born very quickly, and the products, and then it went very well. No, but because as I mentioned, my friend was experienced in video codecs, so we tried small programs in audio and video because that was his technical expertise, but not video editing. Because after I left the game company, I started to dig in and dipping down into the video industry, and then realized that there is potential there. There is potential there. Let's go there, and it worked very well.
We still have some room for more questions. Do we have any more questions? 1 or 2, maybe? Yes, comment. She's brilliant, obviously. She's on the stage. Give her a big applause.
Thank you.
Well, we do have, thank you for the comment. We still have a question, time for a question as well. Do you want to ask us anything? Or anybody else in the audience? Maybe you want to ask them something.
Yeah. Yesterday on the dinner, I was with 2 investors on the table, and I told them that I'm from Siberia, and I said that's a very good comparison, Estonia and Siberia, in terms of how people think, and it's far from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty much hard to sell from Estonia as from Siberia, but there is also an opportunity. So how you feel about that? Is it?
To be honest, I have always thought that Estonia is this like a far corner of Europe, or this Western Europe, and I think what helps us a lot is that since you don't have like a big market here, we have to go global since day one. And then although we are quite like, let's say, Helsinki or Berlin are much better connected to the rest of the world, or the, let's say, the startup life boils in Silicon Valley, you can still get there. Also, like from Siberia, you can get to Estonia, you can get to Silicon Valley. The world is your oyster. Exactly. So thank you. You had a question. Okay. Yeah, we exactly have time for 1 question. Yep.
Let me think how to phrase it. There's lots of emphasis on the STEAM education and science, technology, etc. But are you also thinking that kids are missing out on the more essential stuff like physical education about nutrition, and these sort of things should be incorporated also early? Because if they're, for example, sitting behind a computer or a tablet device or anything for a long period of time, it has negative implications on their posture, body posture, and muscular development and stuff. So
it's a very long question.
Yeah.
Can you answer it?
Yes, to some extent. I think STEM is probably another hype right now, and maybe it's too much attention and too many projects around that. But the balance, the harmony, that's what we are looking for kids, for us. So hopefully we'll find a way to keep it in balance.
Okay, balance is the key. Thank you so much. Give her a big applause. Thank you for coming to Estonia. So, yeah, if you want to leave the room, do it quickly and quietly. At the same time, if you're standing there and you want to listen to the next speaker, please take a seat as well, quickly and quietly. We have enough seats here. They're easily accessible. You just have to step around it and sit down. I'm happy to introduce the next speaker and the next founder on the stage, because he comes from an area where I used to be myself as well, namely science. I looked at his profile. It's like science from Tartu University, Berkeley. You had some other places where you have been, and the physics background as well, or chemistry background as well. And you're talking about fuel cells, which I think might be one of the key to our future's energy problems as well. So please give a big applause to Ivar on the stage. Thank you, man. Your clicker is here.
Hi, so my name is Ivar Kruusenberg. I'm a CEO of PowerUp Energy Technologies, and I think were invited here to tell you about the hard life of the deep tech and hardware startups. As you see, I mean, half of the people left. I mean, hardware and deep tech is not really interesting. So, and people, I mean, investors are really afraid of this. I think that's why they also left. First of all, what we do. So we are making hydrogen fuel cell-based smart generators. Why smart? Because it's not only hydrogen fuel cell what we are integrating into this small portable box. It's the size of small, like a toolbox. It's only 10 kilos. And there's also supercapacitors and the planar batteries inside. Meaning that we are actually combining all up-to-date technologies into one box. And it's also possible to, in the end, connect small solar panel, for example, into this box, so we can store electricity as well. So that's why we call it smart generator, because it's actually possible to make this small box transfer it into the smart grid system. And our target market is, first of all, sailing boat market, which is kind of small. That's why also investors a little bit are like, feel unsafe about this. But I mean, the market is actually much wider for these kind of technologies. We can sell these products also to the military. We have already some pre-orders, also automotive industry. And if we take the system out of the box, we can install it to the drones as well. So there's many, many opportunities and market segments where we can use it. But about our story, so the really beginning of everything, so as it was said, I'm actually physical chemist myself. I have been dealing with the fuel cells and the catalyst materials for the fuel cells for more than 14 years now. And it's really basic research what we are doing. We're synthesizing carbon nanomaterials, we're testing these with different electrochemical methods. And then we write the research paper, we write another research paper and another one, and finally I have like 30 papers. And my H index is really high. I mean, like, I could most probably apply to some associate professor position in UCLA or somewhere. But I mean, at one point during my PhD studies, I felt like I want to get out of this basic research and I want to do something really like something with my hands, something into the community, take the technology from the lab to the real life. And this was the time when I started really thinking about the entrepreneurship. I took some courses in the University of Tartu. I also worked in some labs in Europe, in Netherlands, in Germany, where they were actually testing real fuel cells, real generators. And then 2015, I went to Berkeley to do my postdoc studies and work in the UC Berkeley. And as there's a huge bureaucracy and I couldn't get into the lab for 2 months, then I had a lot of free time. So, but I was in the US with Fulbright scholarship, so I had a lot of opportunities to participate in all the events. I went to the startup events in Silicon Valley, et cetera, and I was more and more thinking about entrepreneurship. And this is my porch where I was just sitting and reading some papers, thinking about my entrepreneurship and how I can be rich and sell all this fuel cell stuff. So, but to make it happen, you need to have some kind of push forward. And first of all, I mean, as I said, there's so many startup events going on in the Bay Area. It's not only Stanford nowadays which we can consider as a Silicon Valley. I mean, it's a whole Bay Area. There's a lot of startup companies in Oakland, in San Francisco, biotech companies in Berkeley, also moving even like further north because of really high real estate prices. And at one point, I was sitting in Stanford in one demo day, and I met this guy, Albert Xu, who's former vice president of Apple. And he's really into the renewables. And I started to talk about renewable energy and the fuel cells with him. And also I mentioned my idea of making a company, startup company. And he was the guy who's told me like, hey man, what are you waiting for? I mean, this is Bay Area, you need to make it happen here. It's now or never. And we arranged a meeting next day in Skydeck. We were having lunch next doors in the cafeteria, and then he took me upstairs of this building. There's the last floor is fully occupied by the UC Berkeley accelerator named Skydeck. And I did put together a team and applied, and we got into the hot tasking, and we were finally 2 years in Skydeck. And my first team was like these guys. So I really didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, how to put the team together. I thought like it's during my like PhD studies, I had a lot of undergrads. They were working really nicely. I mean, it's easy to be a boss of the undergrad students. They listen to you, etc. But actually, I mean, the undergrad students, they didn't know what they were doing. And they didn't show up when we had a meeting, and I had to call them and like, where you are? It's like, I forgot I'm playing football. And like, so it was real disaster. I had to fire them all, get rid of them, and then get new team together. And this time it was more successful. These are my co-founders. Nick Engel, he was CTO back then. Now he's not with us anymore because we are in Estonia, and he joined UCLA for the law studies, unfortunately. But Natalia is still with us. Natalia is a corporate lawyer. It's a little bit strange skills, but I mean in US, incorporation, etc., like putting everything together. And she was really motivated, also helped with everything else, with the management. So this was where our story actually began. So we had also other engineers, and in our team we had finally 6 people together. And we started building our first prototype. In Berkeley there is a shop called L59, where actually most of like customers are Burning Man visitors. So they build like crazy machines. They have a lot of like lighting stuff and etc. But it's a big playground. They basically have everything from the electronics. So this was the main shop we visited and bought all the stuff we needed. Then this is one of our engineers building in the fuel cell lab the first generator. And we used a lot of UC Berkeley equipment and the lab facilities for that. So this environment is really, really friendly for that. And I wish that in Estonia also we would have such kind of environment. It's improving, but there's a long way to go. And this is our first prototype, fully working. I'm a little bit sad that at this time we didn't launch it to the market. We found some like kids' diseases kind of like to repair. So we found it's not perfect design. So we went further. We started with a second prototype. Nick is printing some details. Then we also partnered up with Berkeley Marine Center, which is Bay Area's biggest sailing boat builder. So as our target market is sailing boat market and they have huge pain, then they were willing to actually help us out. So Dan he was from the airplane industry, and he knew how to build really nice boxes from the fibers. And he was building us amazing outer cases for the generators back this time. And of course, this is part of the startup life, so you have to network a lot and use all the social network you have. So you need to find all the friends who can help you out. So basically, half of the UC Berkeley's architecture department were building some small PCs and printing the stuff for the PowerUp. This is my friend Jura. At home she had also some 3D printers, so they were printing some details for us. Then finally we got it ready. This is how it looks like, and this was the box. I couldn't find the picture, unfortunately, about the outer box because I changed my laptop, but this was one of the renders, so that's how it looked like. And the startup life, so it's kind of like hassle, as you know. Endless hours in the library. I've never spent so many hours in the library working. This is 4 a.m. in UC Berkeley Library. I was applying to some grant again and preparing some documents. And I mean, if after fifth day spending in the library, you get kind of crazy. So I don't even want to see these videos, pitching videos I sent out after fifth day. I was filming myself making selfie, and I sent it out. I thought it's pretty okay. Now I'm looking at it, damn it. So also friends, I mean, it's quite important. There's a lot of fun included as well. Everyone wants to be a friend with a nice startup guy. So even some Estonian girls from LA visited me in Berkeley. We had a lot of fun together. And you meet a lot of people in the Bay Area. MC Hammer, you know. So fun is part of the game. I mean, work hard, play hard. This is the main slogan of the Bay Area startups. Of course, social life, you need to have in the startup social life, because Nick was building sometimes without the sleep 2 nights in a row our prototype. So it's really ruining your mindset without having some free time and enjoying the time together with the team. And of course, there's a downside. So I mean, this is one of the happiest part of my life. But what is the sad about it? That after I got the first kit, after 1 week, I had to fly back to US. So I lost a lot of time, which I kind of regret. So there's a lot of downsides and relationship. Thank you, Skype. I mean, maybe there's some founders. So yeah, a lot of nice moments via Skype, and also your wife can be kind of angry when you say, I'm not coming home next week, honey. I had to change my tickets because the prototype is not ready yet. And also, and the pitching. This is how hardware startups try to get money, because it's really hard to find any funds, so you have to find some money for your living. So sometimes it is successful. This is quite recent, but yeah, sometimes it's even more successful. I got 6,000 euros. We were able to pay some salaries. So this is part of it, and also sometimes you feel really tired of pitching. I mean, it's the same crowd, to see all the same faces, same investors. You know that they don't really care. I mean, especially in Estonia, most of them are software investors. So you see from their face, oh, again, PowerUp, yeah, whatever. So it is kind of ruining sometimes. And I mean, end of 2017, it was kind of sad moment. At the same time, it was the point of like positive changes. We had to put back our stuff together from US. This is our last team from US. It was a really nice time which we spent together, and we made a lot of improvement. But the Bay Area, actually, it's perfect for the software startups, but for the hardware, especially for the hydrogen, it's extremely hard. We couldn't find any funding from there. And the reason is that even the angel investors who usually like to invest to the hardware, they were burning a lot of money during the first round of the fuel cell boom, or the first fuel cell boom in the beginning of 2000s. Because there were the fuel cell technology, but there were no infrastructure. So the fuel cell companies couldn't find hydrogen to power their fuel cells. So 99% of them failed. And all the investors also lost their money. So in the Bay Area, nobody really wants to invest to the fuel cell companies, besides maybe some bigger corporations, Yamaha, etc., who's having investment departments there. But this is more about Series A or Series B. So for the financial reasons, we had to move to Europe because it was damn expensive in US. And as I'm from Estonia, obviously we came to Estonia. And we had nice collaboration with some local companies. We built our third generation, which was even closer to the marketable product which we have right now. And then we had to leave all the team to US. We were finding new people to employ in Estonia. So currently we have 2 mechanical engineers, 1 electrical engineer. Ivar is doing business development, Carmen is doing PR, Maiko is doing marketing. So I'm really happy about these guys. We are 2 weeks away, hopefully, from the first beta testing and the first paying customers in the way that we can really develop or deliver the product to them. And it's a little bit strange and funny, but the first customers are in the US, so we have to take the product now back to US. So yeah, that's our product on the table here. So, and we cannot make it. None of the hardware companies actually can make it without having amazing partners and finding some grants. So we have had chance to first of all collaborate with Berkeley Marine Center. They have helped us a lot, and we're really happy that we are part of the European Space Agency program, incubation program, ESABIC. So they have been helping us a lot with not only financials, but also with a lot of know-how for the hardware startups. Because there's not too many mentors who knows about the hardware, etc. And also the European money. This is something which is important for the hardware companies, because there's a lot of, if you have priority technology, which we have, it's easy to, or more or less easy to find soft money or funding opportunities where you don't have to give up any equity. And collaboration with the universities. This is something really critical, because this is from where the new know-how is coming, and also there's a lot of resources. And yeah, finding funding for the hardware. I mean, this is so. Raise hands who's a hardware investor. You see, yeah. So basically, I mean, as I said, in Estonia, extremely hard. If we would be a company in Germany, it would be most probably much easier for us, but there's some other downsides. And this is also one of the reasons why we're looking, as one of the Estonian hardware companies did famous skeleton technologies, they moved to Germany. So because of these reasons, we're also now looking for the possibilities to move out from Estonia. It's really unfortunate, but that's how the life is. If you don't have enough opportunities, you need to find another place to make it. Because we're not stopping our business because of that. And yeah, we're fundraising 300,000 right now, the pre-seed, because we still try to keep our cap table as clean as possible and then get it to the Series A with this. So that's what we're doing. And hopefully we are successful. So let's see. We are pushing hard for that. I think that's all. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Hopefully I can answer to all the questions.
First of all, a big applause. And we have a question right here.
How competitive is our product compared to the petrol diesel generators in euros per kilowatt or something, and to see it improving in your benefit?
So actually, it's that's why our first beachhead market is also sailing boat market, because there it's extremely competitive. The main reason is that in the ocean environment, everything is corroding. Everything what is from the metal is corroding really badly. So even when they have 2 diesel generators on the board, it often happens that both fail. So then you're in big trouble. And then this is the main reason. Also the noise. They don't like the noise and the weight-wise as well. And from comparing to the batteries, for example, our technology is from the weight-wise 10 times more efficient comparing to the batteries. That's why the maritime application is something where it's really competitive to the other technologies like diesel generators, the batteries. But there's also other market segments, as I told, the drones, for example. If we take the fuel cells to the drones, then with the fuel cell, the drone can run for 2 hours, 3 hours on the air, while with the batteries, it lasts only like half an hour, up to an hour. So there's a big advantage.
Any more questions to Ivar? Yeah, we have here one.
Hi, I'm Kalev. I'm from Superangel, one of the startups, one of the investors who doesn't like hardware startups. But I have a wider question. That is there any hope for Estonia as a country for becoming more friendly for hardware startups? Because several of hardware startups are moving away as fast as they can. So it's kind of seems like an uphill battle, but there's nothing the ministries or Enterprise Estonia or government or investors can do in order to create a very good environment for hardware startups. So we should forget about it and focus on software happy shit.
So basically, I mean, government has done a lot recently. There's beginning of next year, 2020, they open some funds which are especially for the deep tech. So there's some improvement from this wise. And I think also, as most of investors, they like to invest to the sector which they know the best. So the key is to have as many successful hardware startups so that we would have investors like the former CEOs, CTOs, the people from the company who have made exit. I mean, they have money to invest and they know about it, about the technology. That's why, I mean, the Natalia Energia guys, they're one of the lead investors for many energy startups because they know the market. And I think when, for example, from the skeleton, they will make exit, they will also start investing to the hardware startups. So it's a question about having these lead investors, because I think many of the software investors also they're willing to invest if there's a proper lead, but we have lack of leads. That's the main issue.
Question from my side, is it a reason that it's hard to understand? We have lack of knowledge in that pool, meaning the technology hardware startups?
Yeah, I mean, because the payback time is much longer, and it needs more investments. If there's scale up, you need to invest more money, and you need to be really sure that what the startup is doing, how the business, how the market is like working at all, and this is, I think, the key for that.
We have time for one more question. If no, then I'm sure you can ask from Ivar if he gets off the stage. But thank you for a great speech.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, or if you go, come back. And those of you who are standing, there's a lot of room here in front rows. So next up is a person from Tel Aviv, and he's gonna tell you, he's called Amiad, and he's the founder of Guesty, which is a property management software. Amiad is also a diver, a pilot, and is jumping out of perfectly functioning airplanes. So please, Amiad, the stage is yours. Give a big applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Your clicker is here.
So, hello everyone. So my name is Amiad Soto, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Guesty. So as you saw from the previous title, I'm going to speak about how we moved from cleaning toilets to a company that raised $60 million and is valued at triple digits. And just like the previous talker, funding was hard just as much for us, even though we did find success in it. We got 40 no's for every one yes. So my tip here is just to keep going. So why should you listen to me? First of all, Guesty is already 215 plus employees. I think we just crossed 230. This is in 5 offices around the world and counting. We raised 16 million, as I mentioned. We have customers in more than 70 countries. And as I mentioned, it wasn't always like this. So here you can see me sitting as a student. One thing that you didn't say is that I'm actually a college dropout myself. I was a student in Tel Aviv University for industrial engineering, and I was extremely bored. And one of the things I always thought about is, you know, what ideas can I work on? And I had an idea about travel expenses reporting, and I had a lot of ideas. But the thing that really hit me, you know, is when both me and my identical twin brother went on vacations. And when we went on vacations, I don't know if you know, but the rent in Tel Aviv is extremely high. And we didn't want to lose our rent, so we thought, you know, let's Airbnb those, right? So that was 2012. I was traveling to the US, that was my apartment. My brother was traveling to Spain. And this is a real story. You know, my brother was sitting in the beach in Barcelona, and he got just tons of messages. And, you know, then the cleaner couldn't show up. And all of a sudden, you find out that there's way too much work involved with this. And we told each other about this, you know, experiences. Both of us had these horrible experiences. And we said, like, there's reviews, there's cleaning, there's guest communication. I don't know how many of you stayed in an Airbnb in the past, but there is tons of questions like, what's the Wi-Fi password? You know, how do I get in? How do I turn on the heater? And all these kind of things. And taking care of check-in. We felt, wait, there's no way Airbnb is exploding like that with so much work involved. There needs to be a, here's my keys, give me the check, kind of like experience. And since we couldn't find one, we decided to open one ourselves. And we called it Superhost. That's a picture of me and my brother. And that's a sketch of our first website. We host your Airbnb place for you. That was as simple as that. And with that idea, we decided, you know, to apply to an incubator. That was Y Combinator. That's the most prestigious startup accelerator in the world. I don't know if you know it, but it sits in Silicon Valley, obviously. We were Tel Aviv-based. And some of the companies that started in YC are Airbnb themselves, Dropbox, Stripe, Cruise, Reddit, Instacart, Docker, and many more. I think that they published that together all the companies that started in YC are now valued at over $30 billion. So it's a very successful incubator. And we applied, and 3 weeks afterwards, we got this email inviting us, for an interview. And just so you know, just to get this email is a 3% chance to get it. So it's harder than getting into Stanford. We went to this interview, and the person who interviewed us was Paul Graham himself. And obviously they know a lot about the Airbnb ecosystem, so they asked us really smart questions. And this is us waiting in a Starbucks coffee for the answer. So you basically go to an interview, and you either get a phone call, which means you're accepted, or you get a rejection email. And we were sitting there, spending the time, and then we got the yes. So we got a call, we got accepted into YC, which obviously meant that we had to move to San Francisco. We moved to San Francisco for the duration of the program. That was 3 months, and we didn't know anything. So just like the previous speaker said, we were first-time entrepreneurs. We didn't know entrepreneurship. We didn't do anything we were doing. We just had the really strong conviction to solve this problem. And, that was our first slogan, or first flyer, and that was our pricing. One of the things you can see, we knew nothing about pricing. We priced all of our services at $20. Cleaning, unlimited size of home for $20 is crazy. And, but, we felt that makes sense, and we just did it. And one of the things, we didn't do as well is how to get customers. So we went on Facebook groups, and we went even outside. So this is Dolores Park in San Francisco. It's a hipster area where people go and just sit there and have fun. And we created those signs that says, do you host on Airbnb? And we try to attract some customers this way. And fun story is, our first customer was actually a neighbor from just above us, just the apartment above, but we found them in Dolores Park. So it was a very peculiar story. And the other customer here is one of the first homes we cleaned, and he was from a meetup. So we were what it called growth hacking. We didn't have any money to do paid advertising or anything. So we just tried to find as many customers as we could. And we found some friends' homes, and we did as much homes as possible. But basically, we were cleaning homes. I was cleaning 6 homes a day. This is a picture of me cleaning one of our customer base bedrooms. One of the things you can see there is a shoe rack. And there's a funny story with this shoe rack, because I was so exhausted, I sat on it and it broke. And the good story is that the host was supposed to come only 2 weeks later. So I had time to find it on eBay, order it on express shipping, just to make sure it's there when the host is back. Obviously, it costed me a lot more than I made on this cleaning, but I had to do it. And this is me and my wife crashed out on a sofa after a long day. The story is that we offered 24/7 guest communication, being only 3 people. So as you can understand, we didn't really sleep at some time. There was some days that we slept for 30 minutes and then did messaging for 30 minutes and set the timer for another 30 minutes, and we just slept in 30-minute increments. And we were exhausted. So we were, once again, this doesn't work. So we went using Y Combinator contacts. We went and met with some of these Uber for cleaning companies, Homejoy and Exec. By the way, both these companies no longer exist. But we could have predicted, because when we met with them, we saw they're exhausted just like we were. No one figured out cleaning as a service still. And we didn't want to be in this game ourselves. We thought there's no competitive advantage for us doing cleaning. We are software geeks. We've been coding since we were kids. There needs to be something we can do better than anyone else in this market. And we decided to move everything to the cloud. Back then, 2014, it was a really hot word, had the buzzword cloud. And we decided, let's do exactly the same things, but in the cloud instead. And that meant doing the guest communication remote, doing the cleaning remote, and doing the laundry and everything remote. That means we had to get a contact from our customer for who is their cleaning person, and we will just organize with them. And that meant that we, competing with these on-the-ground property management companies like ourselves, but for a lot cheaper, because we didn't have to have the boots on the ground. And for that reason, we didn't have to stay in San Francisco anymore. San Francisco is extremely expensive, as we mentioned. And because we were in the cloud, there was no real reason for us to be there. So we went back to Tel Aviv and we rebranded as Guesty, which is our brand right now as well. And with that approach, of being the property management in the cloud, we were able to raise $1.5 million from investors. Again, for every yes we got 40 no's. And for this round, we got 13 yeses, so we got 200 no's. I'm not kidding. We actually had more than 50 meetings each month across 4 months to close this round. And with that money, we started working. And obviously, we had the next setback of, it's not really working, managing remote teams, having our, operational costs, customers were people like ourselves who were on vacation just 2 weeks out of the year. So you spend money on acquiring a customer, then he rents on 2 weeks, and then you have full year of no vacancy, right? So it wasn't really working, and we had a lot of scaling issues. We ran out of money, and our investors were kind enough to give us an extending round of $500K to figure out our things. Another tip I can tell you is never raise money when you have to. It would obviously be on the worst terms you can get, but that actually saved the company, so we're very thankful. And with this thing, we decided, let's see what our competitors were doing. So we went to this conference called VRMA, Vacation Rental Market Association, and there we saw all of our competitors were using crappy technology, right? So we were software geeks. We built such an amazing tool for ourselves. And they were using things that look like Access 97, right? So it's really old, and this is actually the tool that most hotels still use. This is called Opera. And this is like a CRM-based, and there's Outlook, and there's a lot of crappy tools that don't talk to each other. So whenever they got the reservation on Airbnb, their Booking.com calendar didn't block, so they had to use another tool, and they don't talk to each other. And that was our light bulb moment for another pivot. Remember, we pivoted from being on the ground to online, and now we pivoted to be a software company. And we decided, let's repackage what we built into a software that we can, instead of competing with these property management companies, sell to them. And we had to let go of all of our customer base, which is really risky and really scary thing to do, but we decided to double down on this because we couldn't see any future for the previous model. And we built this amazing tool that kind of like do everything together, everything in one place, synchronize your Airbnbs with Booking.com and everything. And with only 2 months of doing this, we were able to show the promise to new investors, and we were able to secure another funding. So this was only on the belief stage, we call it, because our investors, these new partners, didn't have any data to confirm that what we were saying is actually truth, right? We just converted it to 2 months ago and had only the beginning of some leads coming in, and they believed in us and gave us this money. Again, 40 no's for each yes. But we were able to do this, and we ran with it for another year. And with the year of information, our investors were a lot more secure and convicted, convinced in our vision. And we were able to get another investor to come in and do a much bigger round that lasted us until now, actually. And a year later, there was a lot more data that short-term rentals are becoming as big as hotels with $169 billion in 2018. Not only that, the software ecosystem on top of short-term rentals is fastly growing to be over $20 billion industry. So that promise with our growth was enabling us to raise our Series C. That was an opportunistic fund. We didn't have to do this round, but we had an amazing investors who came to us and said, like, look, we know the market is going this way. We really believe in you. And with this funding, we just announced it, by the way, 3 months ago. We were able to scale our team once again. And that obviously brings our company total funding to 60 million. We still have most of this money in the bank, which allows us to do a lot of things. And the product right now is a lot of different things, because our vision, being a property manager ourselves, was it's impossible to juggle 20 different tools, right? It's impossible. No human beings can do that. So we want one single tool to go to, and we created every aspect of the business. Anything from managing your relationship with homeowners, giving them reports, taxes, accounting, owner's portal, analytics, guest communication, which was the most painful part for us as a young property manager. And it actually works. We were able to show increase for our customers over 100% in annual listings, more than 50 hours saved each week, and an average increase in revenue. So what's next? This year and next year, we really focus on geographical expansion. We already opened an office in Barcelona, in Milan, in LA, and this year we're gonna continue with Portugal and Australia. And we're also focused on enterprise sales. Up to now, most of our customers were property managers with some small local offices, right? So they were up to 300, 500 properties. But now we're focused on these megacorps. I don't know if you heard yesterday, there was a big announcement in TechCrunch for 4 companies who are submerging into one brand. It's called Altido. He's actually one of our customers. There was 2 customers of ours plus 2 that weren't customers of ours, and they combined, and now it's one of our big customers as well. And we're going to continue to improve our marketplace. One of the things we do is we look at other successful businesses like Salesforce, for example. And Salesforce did just that. They had a CRM tool, and they built a full marketplace around themselves where people chose Salesforce just because it worked with their existing tools. So we created the full marketplace around ourselves. And some of the tools in our marketplace even compete with our offering, and we're okay with that because it means that everything needs to go through us as well. And that's it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, there is a question. Can we arrange a microphone to you as well very quickly so everybody else would hear your question as well?
I was wondering how your cap. This is Patrick Bosteels. I'm from Turkey. I was wondering how your cap table looks like now, because there was a lot of rounds and some round was like kind of necessary. So changes, and how did you deal with that? So because I hope you're still a shareholder.
Of course.
And how about the board? I mean, how is the decision making?
So most rounds, big rounds, the leader of the round gets a board seat. It really depends on your negotiation skills. So in our first seed round, we didn't give any board seat because we were able to say, look, we don't know where the company is going yet. Let us figure it out. And we didn't give any board seat in our seed round. But later on, we added one by one. Our board right now is me and my brother, plus 4 of our investors throughout the way. Regardless, whenever you start as sole founder, you have the most equity, but it's out of nothing. And as you grow the company, you have smaller share, but from a bigger pool. Eventually you try to be at IPO stage with above 10% per founder, hopefully. So that's the goal.
There is one more question there.
I have a question about this business model. Doesn't this still have a bit different parts from a point of view of scaling? I understand certain things have to be done by using such a global platform. But if we think about cleaning a place, isn't it sometimes that some kind of granny of a flat owner will do it and that's it?
No, so let's be frank. Our customers are not owners. They are property management companies. They normally have their own cleaning staff. Sometimes they outsource it. Yeah. We are a software company, so we charge per software tool. So it's just like you pay Adobe as a designer for your Photoshop. So we take either a commission from each reservation or a fixed fee, depends on your location in the world, and eventually we try to make sure that we have enough revenue per property to make our advancement in innovation.
Maybe I misunderstood your pictures, Len, because I got such an impression that you serve also Airbnb and such.
So Guesty is right now connected to Airbnb, Booking.com, HomeAway, TripAdvisor, to all the platforms, and that's how we help our customers be connected and make sure their calendar is in sync and keep prices updated. We also update owners and revenue and a lot of other parts of the business, but we just help them with that. We aren't, our customers are not individual homeowners or things like that.
Okay, thank you so much. The time is up. Give him a big applause.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Great story.